Oh, I hope this is working. This is kind of weird for me. And I also realized, so I am in the garage, I'm in my garage, and I should be working out, but I'm not working out because I just don't feel like it. And I'm trying to figure out like when a good time is to record these. And so I went and I grabbed my microphone and I tied it up. Anyways, now it looks like a mess. So I actually what in the world? I actually realized that this is actually a really good opportunity to test out my mic and see what I like, see what I don't like, and do all those things. So what I am going to do is, like I mentioned in my last video that should have released yesterday if I stay true to my word, is I am going to record a video every day before the day before it released based off what my analytics are telling me that people that subscribe to my channel are looking at or are interested in seeing. So what I do is I take my trusty iPad and I go to the section where it has all of the topics or the trends or whatever it's called. And then I look through this list and then I pick something from this list. I will be honest and say, what was I even going to say? I was going to say, I will be honest and say that this is going to be unhinged, unorganized. I am doing this the entire month of February because this is just what I want to do. So you will see no edits. Every time I mess up, it will be in here. Every time I start laughing, crying at myself or think of something crazy, or, you know, all those things, I'm leaving them all in here. Also, I am on a medicine ball. So if you see me moving around, it is because I'm on a medicine ball. And honestly, okay, that's way more comfortable. So anyways, let me look at the list. So let's see. I still have Ohio State football news on the list, but because I did that yesterday, I'm not going to do that today. So I have football commentary channel. That's interesting. Boise State football keeps popping up. I think that is very interesting that keeps popping up. Most overrated football players. Ooh, that could be fun for me to talk about. Do I want to talk about the most overrated football players? I don't know. That sounds a little spicy. But honestly, I don't know who I would consider overrated. I feel like, you know what? F it. I am going to talk about the most overrated football players. And you know what I'm going to do is I am going to talk about, I'm just going to think of players that I think are just overrated, just based off like who comes to mind. So the first player I'm going to choose that I think is overrated, if you know me at all, this will come as no surprise. I'm going to say Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy is overrated. I think Brock Purdy does nothing fancy. I think he doesn't do anything spectacular. I think he benefits from playing in a great system. And so I think Brock Purdy is overrated. That is my opinion. You know who else I think is overrated? And this isn't a player, it's a coach. What is the Miami Dolphins head coach name? Mike McDaniels? Is that his name? Oh, that might not be his name. If that's his name, I think he might be overrated. And I'm not really impressed by him. I feel like he is getting the benefit of having really good athletes on his team. And quite frankly, that is usually what makes you a good coach, is when you have really good athletes on your team. So it's not a knock on him that he has great athletes. I'm just not sure if I really think he's a great coach or if he benefits from having a great offense, because honestly, he hasn't really done much there. So I'm going to say Brock Purdy. I'm going to say the Miami Dolphins coach. Who else do I feel like is just kind of like overrated that we do too much like talking about or whatever when it comes to football? I think the other guy that I personally think is overrated is, what's his name? Tyron Smith. Is that his name? The left tackle that used to play for Dallas that now plays for the Jets. I think that's his name. Smith, Tyron Smith, 71. Is he 71? I don't know. I honestly think his time is over. I think it's done. I think it's time for him to hang it up. I think it's time for him to move on. I am not impressed by him at all. I haven't been impressed by him. I've realized that I don't like players that can't stay healthy. If you're a player and you can't stay healthy, you will usually be on my list of overrated, because your best availability is availability. I don't think that's the right word, but the best thing you can actually offer to a team is for you to be available. So if you're the best person ever, if you're Aaron Donald, but you can never play because you're always hurt, like, are you really that great? So yeah, Smith comes to mind. Is his name Tyron Smith? I don't even know. And that came out so easy that I don't know if that's his name. So I am going to say him. I think he is overrated. Who else do I think is overrated that just comes to me? There's not really any college players really that I think is overrated per se. Oh, I do think Cash Cleveland was very overrated for the Colorado Buffaloes team this year. I don't think Cash Cleveland was very good at all. I think he was average at best. And usually I don't attack college students, or I don't like talk bad about college students, but I just wasn't very impressed by him. So I'm not really there on him. So yeah, I just need to say that because I'm concerned that Colorado's just going to roll with him because he was there. So I hope that they get that fixed. Who else do I think is overrated? Sometimes, I don't know, like, I don't know if players are necessarily overrated. Am I talking about the right thing? Is it overrated? I just want to make sure that I read it right. College football, most overrated football players. Okay, it is overrated. So who else do I think is overrated? I think somebody else that I think might be overrated. This actually might be, I don't know. Like, I'm going to say this and I mean it. Okay. I'm going to say that this player, I don't think that they're overrated because they're not a good football player. I think they are overrated based on the things that they are able to do. I don't think their talent is going to make a big of an impact on a team that we think it will. Actually, I'm backing out. I'm not going to say it because I think like so many people are so freaking sensitive when it comes to these players as if they're their friends or their cousins or their whatever. And I get it. If I'm talking about somebody that is actually your friend that you can text and talk to or somebody that's actually your cousin, I understand it, right? I get it. But sometimes I think we get like our mindset that like this one person is so good and they're going to go in and they're going to dominate something and everything's going to change and be better. And I just don't necessarily believe that. So I'm going to leave that where it's at, but there's a couple of quarterbacks that I just don't think are tremendous, but you know, I don't know if I would call them overrated. I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like we think certain players actually dictate more than we think they dictate. That's kind of where I'm at. And I think because we think that of players, then we rush to assume that the player is going to make the world of difference. And I just don't believe that to be true. And you know what? I'm just going to say it. So I don't think Travis Hunter is overrated as a player. I think people think that Travis Hunter is going to have the ability to turn around an entire franchise. And I just don't believe that to be true because I think players that turn around franchises are usually people that can rush the passer. And so for me, like, that's not a knock on Travis Hunter. I think Travis Hunter is phenomenal. I just think that because he doesn't have as much contact with the ball, like because his position is so dependent, I think we put on so much expectations of him to like completely change a franchise. And I just don't think he's going to be able to change a franchise. So I think he might be a little overrated, but not in the way that I think it's written. But so Travis Hunter is going to be one. So I know that's going to ruffle some feathers, but it's not about Travis Hunter as an athlete. I think Travis Hunter is probably the best athlete in the draft. I think he's a phenomenal football player. I think he's amazing. I just think we think these players are going to like step in and change everything. And I just don't think he plays a position to be able to do that, if that makes sense. Like a lot of people are gonna be like, oh my God, he's the best. He is the best. That's not what I'm saying. So I know this might be hard, but you kind of have to listen to what I'm saying in context and not necessarily a knock on him, which I don't know if that was like actually how the topic was produced to me. No, sent to me, showed to me. I don't know. I'm sure that's not the point, but that's just somebody that came to mind. The other person that I'm wondering if they're overrated too is Cam Williams? Cam Williams, that played for Texas on our offensive line. So here's my concern. So I'm going to talk about all four of the Texas offensive linemen that are going into the NFL draft. So Kelvin Banks, I get it. He fits the body type. He fits the thing. But there's some technical issues that people talk about with Kelvin Banks. So there's that. I also think the other offensive linemen that we have, sometimes I wonder if guys are going pro just because it's time for them to go pro. And I'm not really sure if they're phenomenal. So I could be wrong, but I kind of wonder if the Texas offensive linemen that are in the draft, if they are overrated. So that is something that I'm thinking about. I am wondering if the Texas offensive line players that entered the NFL draft, I am wondering if they are overrated. I'm just curious because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. You know who else I'm kind of wondering if he's overrated? Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray is a good quarterback. I don't know. You know, my things with quarterbacks is I think they make entirely too much money. And so I think when you make that much money, like if you are going to hold that much of the salary cap against my football team, I need you to be phenomenal. And I just think you're overrated. I think Russell Wilson is overrated. So there's that. So yeah, I don't know. I have a couple like philosophies in football that are at play here that I think impact my ability to think somebody is overrated. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So as I keep talking, I'm like, am I looking at this? Why do I keep thinking I'm getting it wrong and that it's not overrated? It is most overrated college football, most overrated football players. And I'm just going to say, I think the most overrated football players, honestly, are the quarterbacks. I think they're overrated. And I think some of these offensive linemen also aren't very good. So that's going to be my final answer. So this isn't a knock on Travis Hunter. So Travis Hunter is an amazing athlete. He'll be fine. This isn't a knock on the Texas offensive linemen that entered the draft. They'll be fine. This isn't a knock on Cash Cleveland, although I don't think he's good, but whatever. And I don't think Brock Purdy is good. So I'm standing on that. I think he's going to get paid a lot of money, but I don't think he's very good. And honestly, I don't know. I just don't know. So that's kind of how I feel about that. And yeah, so this is this episode. It looks really crazy. I still am not in the mood to work out, but I learned in my last video that I can actually turn off my recording on my own if I hit a button. So let me see if that ends this video. If it doesn't end the video, I'm going to look like an idiot. Let's see what happens. Let's see. Okay. This is not ending the video. It is actually ending. Okay. It's changing the mic quality. All right. So I'm going to end this video. So yes, this is my video on most overrated football player. And yeah, I don't know. This one, I don't know if this is my best work, but you know, here we are.